and welcome back to John Silva Photography, where everything I talk about is photography and helping you make better pictures. Now today, we are in the desert. Well, not literally, but today's images are from the desert of Chile, of Atacama. And through these pictures, I will show you some of my best work. I will discuss the pictures, and that will help you, hopefully, I'm sure it will, make better pictures. I will go into detail about how it was made, what I had to do to get it done, which also goes into my travel photography lifestyle, which is getting up early, carrying a heavy camera bag around in 90 degree, 40 degrees Celsius heat, dealing with the dust, the dirt, the sweat. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Let's get into the pictures. Hope you enjoy them. Hope you get some helpful tips out of them. And I will see you on the other side after we have reviewed the images. The first image we're reviewing today is moonrise over the desert. And the tricky thing about making photos like this, if you've ever tried this yourself, depending on the quality of light, the strength of the natural light, the sunlight, the moon can just look like a big white dot because it is so, the landscape is so dark that you set your camera settings to light the landscape and bring its details up. Well, that's gonna overexpose the moon and it's just gonna look like a big round circle. So the trick is to try to photograph at a time where the exposure level on the moon and the exposure level on your landscape, on the ground, on the terrain, mountains, on the person, if you're trying to do make a photograph of a person, that they're all really in close proximity of each other, almost the same. That would be ideal. That to light it, you would use the settings for both the landscape and the moon. You would use the same settings to get the detail in the moon. You see the moon, you can see that it's not just one white dot. You can see the land features, the darker light gray area as opposed to the almost white area. And that's always tricky to get a really interesting, colorful landscape like I have here. You can see the reddish brown land and the white snow-capped part of the mountains and the sky as well, the blue sky with the wispy clouds. This one, the lighting was just perfect for me to pull this off. Now the next one is another moon image at a different location, but as you can see, I was going for color. There is still some detail in the moon that you can see, but if I try to, again, you can see how dark the rest of the image is. If I try to light that, to make that lighter, then that moon would look just pure white. You kind of lose the interest in the image when that happens. So this one is a little bit trickier, but I was going for the color in the clouds. It's that ochre, that burnt orange, brown, and then the deep purples around it. But I could stand to dodge that moon a little bit. For those of you who may not know what dodge means, it would be to hold back the exposure on that moon to bring out a little bit more of the variety of the tones in the moon. So it's light gray, you can see the surface details of it. That's the trickiest part about getting moon shots. Whenever you see a moon, that you can see the craters and the variation in color of the surface and whatever else is in the picture, that is a well-balanced image. And fortunately for the photographer, the person who took it, they either had great lighting or they did a lot of work in their post after they made the photograph, in their post-processing, to even out the image. And there's a number of ways of doing that. But that's another subject, something for a different video perhaps one day. But those are the first two images from the desert, the moon. Now the third image, the first two images were made with like a 28 to 75 lens. This one is a much wider angle. You could tell because it's capturing much more information in the image. It's portrait, and it goes right, that little yellowish green vegetation was right at my feet, and it's in focus, it's sharp, and from there all the way back to that snow-covered mountain, into the blue sky, everything's in focus. This is my wide angle lens. So this is the other thing that I talk about from time to time, is make sure you're using different lenses, and you're using lenses that suit the situation, um, and for the image that you're trying to create. So everything you see there is snow on the ground. This is rare. It's this desert. Is at really high altitude in Atacama. Some images you'll see this white on the ground, and it'll be snow. Other images it'll be like salt or like a crypto biotic that's on the surface. It's very crunchy. It's mostly minerals, but you'll see that from time to time in these images. The next image, actually at this location, had a very saline, salty lake, not very deep. It is in the desert, um, but it was of a beautiful color. And again, a short lens, a wide angle lens, so I could get these two rocks in the foreground and just the edge of the water in focus, little pebbles. The water's pretty clear, you can see through it. And everything from foreground to background, everything is in focus. And most of these, these first four, color was a very important component of these images. Some of the feel, some of the texture, but mostly the color is what grabbed me and interested me in these photographs. The next one, again, in a desert, you're going to get a lot of, depending on the desert, but most deserts, depending on what the composition is of the soil, of the crust, reds and oranges and burnt oranges, ochre, what you've got here. What I really like about this picture is that I've got the people in it at a distance, so you can't tell who it is, but it really gives you scale. Without those people, you might not know how big or small like this round depression is, and all the other depressions are in the surface. You got a little bit of that aqua-looking lake, and of course the blue cloudless sky. Very clean image, very colorful image. Again, a wide-angle lens to get everything in focus. There was so much going on in this image. I wanted to use a wide-angle lens to get it all in focus and just put it all in the image, all the color, from the warm, everything's warm to cool colors. The next image is a denizen of the desert that ran across. Very small. Of course, this was with my long lens, my 70 to 200 millimeter lens. There is life in the desert, and this guy was perfectly posed in a little crevice, a little crack in the ground, and the light was hitting its head. So I thought, just stay there. All of these, for the most part, took varying levels of patience. This one took a lot of patience as it darted around. It would pause for a little while, and then it would be in a really good position to make a photograph. And then I would move myself to get in better position, and then it would move. So as I've said before on numerous occasions, all photography, pretty much all photography to a degree, takes patience. I would say that nature photography, landscape photography, things where when you're outside of the studio, you have little control over. I mean, in a studio, you can control lighting. If you're doing portraits, you have a person, you pose them, whether they're standing, sitting on a stool, posing on a table, wherever they are. You can talk to them and have them stand or sit, whatever. Or even if you have an assist, that's even better. They can pose the person for you. You can control so much. But when you get outside, you lose control of pretty much everything. So this guy took quite a bit of patience, but I think it paid off. We're in the animal section now of my images. The next image has 3 flamingos. There was this lake, again, in a desert. Yes, it's one of the driest places on Earth, but it does have water, and flamingos are very famous for occupying it. This is a beautiful image of the flamingos. Again, I can't, probably 3 hours at least. I was at this location making photographs of the flamingos, facing different directions, north, south, east, and west, because the sun, could be harsh. So it depended on what I wanted, and then I moved around to get different backgrounds. But that's what was happening here, and of course, this is looks like to me like a 28 to 75, or even my 70 to 200. This would not be a wide angle situation like most of the earlier ones were, with the exception of the lizard. Again, the next one, more flamingos. This is definitely the 70 to 200. Just so much warmth there. It's the reflection is even warm. The blue water that it's in is cool. Then there's little patches of blue until you get to the sky, but this is mostly a warm image. Again, like I said, 70 to 200. Much patience is required to get the flamingos as you want them, not just their pose, and they're moving constantly, so you have to be aware, but also what you want the background to be. So when you do this type of photography, make sure you pack your suitcase with as much patience as you can. In flight, there's some more trickery. 70 to 200 lens, of course, and very fast shutter, so you freeze the flamingo in flight. Make sure you're focusing. I love to use spot focus in situations like this, or tracking focus, depending on your camera. Again, I have many of the flamingos in flight. Probably say 100, maybe somewhere under 100, but only a few that are I think just nailed it. And this is one of them, right? Trying to get it in between two mountain peaks, the blue sky with its warm colored feathers just standing out against everything that's blue and cool in this image. And here's the next image. This is not snow. This is the salt, the minerals in the soil, which makes it almost like concrete hard. If you step on it, it's really hard, crunchy. But to me, it looked otherworldly, like on a different planet. And I've seen this before in other places, and here and there, not a lot. It doesn't pop a lot, but obviously deserts and such, lake beds and things of that nature. It's very very otherworldly, and of course the texture. There's a lot of texture here. The color, of course, the brownish with a touch of red, all the way back to the mountains, and then the blue sky. It just, again, and wide angle. Everything's in focus from foreground to background, so no more long lens here. And the next image, going back to some animals, they had some wild feral donkeys, they're burros, and got them to pose de facto for me by just getting their attention, and they just looked at me. Well, three of them did. The one in the background, he's minding his own business and grazing, but again, the colors, the deep brown coats of the donkeys, and then the yellow vegetation giving way to the light orange of the rocks, and then in the background the light purple mountains with a little bit of snow on them, and then the blue sky. It's just very beautiful color wise, and interesting subject matter. This image works for having a nice animal portrait showing the environmental background that they're in, and as well as the next image, which some people might call them llamas, but they're actually called guanacos down there. I believe that's how you say it. It's spelled with a G, Guanaco, I believe, but they are wild animals there, and as you can see, they have their little packs or herds. Each and every one of them was checking me out, keeping an eye on me, making sure, I guess, I wasn't creating any mischief for them. But again, getting them in their environment, using a long lens to get the grouping, and in some nice environmental portrait of these guanacos. Now, the next image is really simple, and again, all about color, and basically two colors: a very, very, very light blue sky, which is 70%, 80% of the image, and then the goldish, I guess I would call it goldish vegetation, and the dirt in the foreground would be a reddish brown. So maybe you can go with three colors are at play here. But when you first look at it, you just see a smooth landscape, no trees, no bushes, just this low growing vegetation. And it was very appealing image, very image sight to see, and photographing it as a simple image, but it works. It works. And this is a 28 to 75 lens. Going back to the animals on the next picture, we've got a feral horse, a small horse. It almost looks like where the burros were, but it was at a different place. You got beautiful mountains back there, and in the background of those mountains, you can see the mineral deposits on the mountains, and there's swirls of color on it, which you'll see later in other images in another part of the desert area. It's actually, I believe, yeah, this is in Chile, but the other area is across the border back in Argentina, not far from the Bolivian border either. Um, so anyway, an environmental portrait here with the horse, the yellow gold grass, pretty much the same colors you're seeing in all the other images, because it's the terrain, the environment is pretty much like this in a wide area. Of course, you've already seen some variations on a theme, but in this general area, this is what the terrain looked like. Next image is animal free. Just a few bushes in there growing up in the foreground, and in the background, you've got a volcano, a dormant volcano, a cone, and then two other layers of different terrain. The one closest to the volcano is is more bumpy but smooth bumps with looks like mineral deposits in there, the little white areas, and just different colors, speckled, like put on by paintbrushes on the terrain. And then in closer to us, closer to the foreground, it's just a one hill going across with some really low growing shrubbery on it. But again, the layers here, basically 5 layers of in this picture, really creates a 3D kind of depth to it. Very nice. Um, Again, 28 to 75 lens. And then we're going here. This is a sunset right behind the place I was staying at. I exposed off the colors in the sky, which basically turned the foreground and the sky at the top, just turned it into a black. So it actually creates a frame. The only thing of interest that your eye goes to are the colors and the silhouette of the tree on the right, and maybe a little bit one on the left. The tree gets your attention on the left a little bit, but the main point of interest is that tree in silhouette, and just the colors of the sunset were gorgeous. Now here's one that's pretty much different from everything else. In San Pedro, there was a little church chapel, and they were bringing in a body and a casket. And right when I was there, and I thought, wow, this is a shot of life, a slice of life here that everybody faces, but I just happened to be here, and I thought that it was interesting. Family members or whoever was carrying this casket in, I guess for the funeral, and it just appealed to me with the church, that it's a simple church. It's an old church. It makes you think of the 1800s, made me think of the 1800s. I don't know exactly when it was built, but then the style of fencing, the cross on top, the bell, everything just reminded me of an old style church. And now this was another end of day image. The next image, the colors went crazy. The cloud went a crazy orange. The color is either getting more vivid or it starts to fade. Depends on what's happening with the sun, how high it is or low it is. But that's an ever-changing situation, and you just, again, patient. You're waiting outside, making photographs and waiting to see what happens. The next part is a totally different terrain. This is obviously a salt lake, a salt flat, and they have these long channels built into them. So I used a wide angle lens to get everything in focus again, and just had just a little strip across the top where you can see the mountains, and just a 3%, 5% of the image is the blue sky and little white puffy clouds, but everything is that white patterned terrain with the super light blue water in the channels. Completely different from everything else, but still in the desert. Now, the next image is in a place called Hornicao, back in Argentina, a couple of hours north of a town called Salta. And the colors, of course, from mineral deposits and stuff in these hills is something else. It's really gorgeous, something akin to the Painted Desert in the United States and other places, similar places that I've seen and photographed around the world. The vegetation, yellowish goldish with some green in it, and then all the warm colors of the hills and the blue sky. It is something to behold in person, and pretty much you can do a pretty good job of rendering it how it looks with your photographs. It is something else. The next one is pulled back, so you can have the blue cool of the sky doing battle with the warm tones of the hills, and then the semi-coolness of the green grass and vegetation in the foreground. It was, again, a very striking place. When you go to, if you go to this place, hopefully you go to this place, you actually park your car and walk up over a hill. And when you walk over the hill, when you get to the crest of one hill, and this gets revealed to you, it is stunning. On a day where there's plenty of light, you can have some clouds that that might have added some interest, but even this pure blue sky, it was just a stunning vision to see. Next image, close-up view, 70 to 200 lens. I wanted to grab some close-ups. You can see it goes from anywhere from yellow to bright red, and then everything in between. You even got some cool colors in there with green, yellow, orange, red, purple, magenta. It's all over the place there. It is fantastic. You can just sit there in the grass, stake out a little comfortable spot, and just look at it and just enjoy it. It's a great place for a picnic. If you wanted to do that, there's plenty of space to do that. That is the presentation for today. I hope the discussion was helpful to you. Well, that was today's video. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel here. Come back often to see images. And speaking of images, if you liked any of the images that you saw today and like to have one for yourself, you can contact me and we can do that. Also, if you need photographic services, that's available too. So just get a hold of me and we'll work out the details. But make sure you come back often. As I said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.